Welcome back to Metal Gear Solid 3. And here, you can see the wild naked snake in his natural habitat, stalking his prey. Now, as he slithers about the ground, you can see that he is encroaching on his territory. He has within him the abilities of the game movement map, wherein boundaries are placed that will limit his field of motion. But that doesn't stop him from being the apex predator. Now, let us watch as he stalks down one by one those unfortunate enough to come about his path on SCWRM National Documentary.
So,
hey Snake, I'm getting a coffee. Do you want one?
Sir, nothing, bro. Remember to, discharge your phone next time. It was awesome.
All right.
So this is based off the second PS2 release, where the camera is free movement.
Yes,
whereas
subsistence.
The original release,
Yes,
whereas the original one was just still top down.
Yes, the original 2004 release of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was indeed like the other games, where it had a fixed camera where you could move it around, but you could not move it properly in 360 degrees like in modern cameras. However, basically what happened was, during the development of the original version, there was actually an employee who was already asking Kojima, for a game like this, considering the more expensive scenery, we really need to bring a more modern camera into this. Kojima was a bit hesitant at that because he wanted all three games to feel cohesive with each other. So he decided to stick with the OG camera for now. However, by the time they got around to making Subsistence, okay, let's try out an optional more modern camera for the re-release. And and everybody pretty much agrees. Everybody pretty much agrees that this is the definitive way to play MGS3. So obviously, when Bluepoint remastered this, they used the Subsistence version as their. Yeah, there you go.
Why did you let that guy spot you?
Because I wanted to showcase how it works. Basically, if you're quick enough, and this is something that will come about in later games as well, if you're quick enough, you can stop the soldier from, because this is something that you could not do very well in the previous games because you didn't have CQC. With CQC, you can much easier take down an enemy without even any weapons before he makes all the other soldiers aware that that I've been spotted. So basically, if you're quick, you can stop a soldier from calling to his colleagues.
Jesus. With all this tall grass, some unfortunate Pokemon trainer's gonna be in for a nasty surprise.
All right.
I don't think there'll ever be a Pokemon game where if you fail a match, you get shot.
All right. So
lives in Pokemon.
And yes, there was that anime episode, but that never got dubbed around here.
Yes,
so.
Pedro.
Yeah.
All right. So since we have some time to kill, I actually am going to get the one specific controversial thing I have to say in this playthrough out of the way right now. Basically, Shirei, what you're about to say is something that to this day, right from the early days of 2000s up until today, still gets me in hot water among the Metal Gear Solid fan base. Which is, I personally disagree with David Hayter voicing Big Boss in this game, and let me explain why before anyone on the audience tells me, what? How can you say that? Let me explain. Up until this point, all the snakes have had different voice actors. So Liquid Snake has his own voice actor. Solid has his own voice actor. Solid Snake has his own voice actor. Naked Snake is indeed, and while it is true that Solid Snake is a clone of Big Boss is still a different character. And in my opinion, it would have made much more sense to stay consistent and give Naked Snake his own voice actor, because this is not Solid Snake. This is a different character. And in my opinion, giving him Solid Snake's voice, and yes, before anyone says, yes, I understand that this is the same thing in the Japanese version. I understand that this is Kojima's idea. That doesn't mean I have to agree with it. That doesn't mean I have to agree with it, though. Personally, I would have far preferred, like, for example, to give you an idea, Shiroi, when in Metal Gear Solid 5, Kojima actually recast Big Boss with Kiefer Sutherland, and I was actually, unlike most fans, I was actually very open to the idea, because I personally never really cared for the idea of giving Big Boss the same, especially Shiroi, to give you an idea, Shiroi. It kind of creates, in my opinion, some inconsistencies how the voice acting is done, because in Metal Gear Solid 4, Shiroi, without spoiling anything, let's just say we're going to hear Big Boss finally in a spoken cutscene for the first time.
To be fair, that's a much older big.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Jova. David Hayter can do an older voice just fine. So by that logic, why not have David Hayter voice both of them then?
Okay. This is actually a bit...
I wonder if this tool was Kojima's idea, because they do some kind of... There's an inside joke, in a sense, when it comes to MGS4, because Big Boss in that game is voiced by Aki Otsuka's father, Chiaki.
Oh yeah, I know.
He's passed away.
And he also gave Snake...
There was essentially a voice acting generational, inside gag that is lost to the West.
Maybe, but at the same time... okay, maybe it works better for the Japanese version then. But in terms of the English voice, for me, it boils down to my main reason. They're different characters, very different characters. They should have different actors to emphasize that. And personally, I don't really care for the idea of literally giving him the exact same voice Solid Snake has. They're different characters. That begs
the question. Keeping in mind the standards of the year this game was released, and hard mode, I know, no celebrities, who would you have chosen instead?
Okay, at the time... Okay, personally, I love Kiefer Sutherland as Big Boss in 5. Just to get that out of the way right now.
Again, it's pretty much a given that was mostly a choice also because Kojima love of actor. But I'm talking about an actual voice actor.
I would have to think about it properly. Like,
if I may,
go on.
I do think this is a good segue. Tim mentioned that. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely one of the people who does believe that. No, I'm fine with David Hayter returning as Naked Snake, and I'm also fine with them getting a different voice actor from older. That said, I can pretty much come up with an easier reason why Kojima would have gotten a different voice actor for him when he was older in Metal Gear Solid. Well, when we see older
yes.
Big Boss. The fact that Richard Dorr is a big famous Hollywood actor. Yeah,
oh, sure.
This is probably a good time to bring up a bit of an issue that happened behind the scenes with Metal Gear Solid 3. Kojima tried to actually replace David Hayter for this game with Kurt Russell.
That's the thing. I personally don't really mind the idea, honestly. That's just the thing. Like I said, if he tried to get Kurt Russell to play Solid Snake, now that I would have a problem with.
Now the problem was he kind of did that behind David Hayter's back.
Yeah.
Had to Basically, David Hayter actually kind of won this role in auditioning because it turned out he was the best fit for it. And honestly, I kind of get it. Like, to be fair, the games have established that Solid Snake is the one who looks most identical to Big Boss in his younger years. So in that regard, it makes sense that they have the same build.
The thought process behind would be perfect cloning would be also ideally identical vocal cords.
Which is also in that regard why Solid Snake is the snake that is risen superior above Liquid and Solidus, despite how much they boast about how they're the true superior ones. Now, I bring this up because I love Kojima, but I do feel that one of his flaws is that sometimes he is blinded by the want to make his games the most like Hollywood stuff here, because again, yeah, he kind of did David Hayter dirty, and that's something we'll say mainly for Metal Gear Solid 5. My issue is that he did it mainly for the Hollywood star power, which is already a growing problem people have with video games here and there when they replace iconic voice actors with Hollywood stuff. And I'm like, I mean, if you want to get Kurt Russell, that's fine. And it's obvious why he wants Kurt Russell. He's a big, big fan of that movie that he literally based.
I was going to say, I think this is film buff Kojima having the influence on his game.
Which again, that in itself, while it is commendable, the attachment to the media, it also showcased the idea of preferring style over substance in an audio kind of way. Where again, as Jova said, it's not even just this game or what happened with MGS5. Again, the growing trend in general, also for fictional media, not even just video games, of preferring to prioritize having recognizable actual celebrity voicing this character.
Sure, but
an actual voice actor will be competent.
It's kind of like me whenever whenever a reboot of a property happens where it's like mainly voiced, and people get really upset that the actor who played them before isn't cast. I'm like, it's a reboot, you know, it's kind of meant to be a bit different. You cast the same guy, his performance might not match. His performance might not fit this new version of the character.
That's nice to
Well,
us,
then it
but
also
What to do
begs-
with the mouse? No, please.
Oh, goody.
don't worry, Teo. I'm just going to tranquilize them.
No.
So-
And then he's gonna... He'll tranquilize them and then he'll eat them.
Teo. This is the jungle. The food chain is a thing.
If the wise
can't
words
eat
of
them
a
anyway.
fucking flower is to heal or be killed.
Because
Anyway, Dwibs, your thing about reboots kind of hits a snag when you realize the reason most companies do a reboot is because they want to reinvigorate the fan base or whatnot, you know, get more sales. The thing is, though, if a reboot is like, you know, unrecognizable, that could alienate the fans.
All right, let me.
I'm just gonna...
I wasn't
Okay.
on about reboot quality. I was on about thingy. But go on.
Yes,
Pedro.
Pedro.
Yeah, and as you just saw, I just ate a reticulated python. That's because, again, this game is not called Snake Eater for nothing. Snake...
He's taking it a little too literally.
Isn't there
Again,
like an...
image? Sorry,
Isn't
go.
there like an animation of Snake eating some of the
No,
stuff?
but you
at
do
some
get an
point?
audio of tasty.
No, actually, Teo, there is an animation of
already heard that.
there is an animation of it in the
Very
game's
nice.
trailers.
Yeah, no, there is also a cutscene later on where he actually is eating one on a stick.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Was
remember
that something that didn't make it into the actual?
It did
game?
make it in the game. It's part of the opening credit sequence that we're going to see in the next part.
Ah, okay. Because I could have sworn.
It's there. It's in the game, just not in the way you think. Like it's
I
in.
get the idea that a game like this probably was trying to push the PS2 to its boundaries.
Yeah, it was.
potentially.
Oh yeah.
Well, remember, this game when Kojima actually first started conceptualizing this game, he thought of maybe doing it on the PS3, but he realized that the PS3 was not going to be ready soon enough.
Again,
You know,
it's
it's
one thing
always-
that's consistent with console generations is that the late part of a generation console is the one that's where it blossoms to its true potential, because a lot of people are exactly more knowledgeable on the dev kit and everything, and as such are making games that exploits at the maximum the console potential. So we did get actually very good product with a lot of content like this in Rogue Galaxy or Final Fantasy 12.
Let me put it.
There's actually a good reason for that. It's like the swan. Okay, I like to call it the swan song principle. Make an incredibly great finale on a console generation that probably boosts the chances that fans will like you enough that they'll want to join you in the next generation, per se, with such a great experience, while also showing them just how much further things can go on the newer hardware by showing how much you were able to crank things up to the max with the old hardware.
Let me just again, not counting any kind of outside circumstances and real life circumstances. I'm talking about specifically purely within the game itself, the games themselves, like because that's mostly what I care about. I love Richard Doyle as older Big Boss, of course. He's great. Trust me. That's not. It's just one of those things where when you cast David Hayter as young Big Boss, it kind of creates this thing of okay, then it really makes you wonder why not just have David Hayter voice both of them all times. Then it creates this inconsistent feel. Can I finish? Okay.
Again, just making it more of an impression than anything. At least it gives consistency.
I've honestly seen plenty of times where a different person plays an older or younger version.
Let me-
Sorry, go on.
Hold on. Go on, Pedro.
For me, is that even before we get to Metal Gear Solid 4, like because remember this was back in MGS3, back at the time that this game was released. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Here's another thing about the very easy mode. It gives you this particular gun, which is the easy gun. You might notice how the number on my camouflage is blue now when I equip this gun. Basically, this gun makes you invisible to the enemies. Basically.
Oh.
So basically, Shiroi, like I told you, you can just play on very easy. You don't need to be good at stealth.
Oh, I think we're about
You
to
wanna
get to
take the
Sokolov.
easy road.
All right, cutscene.
I couldn't really play this game anyway.
I can hear your footsteps.
No, you can't. Shut up.
Is it really that cold that you need to burn your paper research for that?
That's what you're hearing, the fire.
Actually, he has another reason why he's burning it. So yeah, Sokolov is voiced by Brian Cummings.
You'll never get it from me.
No. I'm a CIA agent. I've come to escort you back to the other side of the Iron Curtain.
You're CIA.
Yeah. I was sent by Major Zero.
Yeah, it's funny because CIA don't normally dress like they're from the military.
Zero.
I have a
Well, in this case, it's more for camouflage.
Mm-hmm.
He said to tell you sorry for being so late.
Guess you could say he kept you waiting, huh?
Yep.
Again, the idea was a potential code message to,
He's a man.
yeah,
of his
to
word.
be sure that it was him to send him.
But we've got no time for this. You have to get me out of here before they arrive.
And there's no time to waste.
They.
Yes. Yes. So the most British-sounding Russian ever.
Oh my god, Gru and his minions are in charge of this.
Oh,
I should have
please,
known.
We really need to get
Thunderbolt.
Yeah, speaking of Brits, this is the most British-sounding Russian I've ever heard.
All right, hold on.
Control of the motherland.
Our main
Ever
introduction
since
to our
the
main
Cuban Missile
villain.
Crisis 2 years ago, Khrushchev has been pursuing a policy of peaceful coexistence with the West. Despite resistance and criticism from hawks in the army and the provincial authorities, Khrushchev has managed to suppress the opposition so far. But the failure of his agricultural policies has put him in a
Again, Khrushchev was better than Stalin, but he wasn't the saint.
tragedy.
To put it like this, Khrushchev was the start of the Soviet Union being disassembled. It was still a long, rough road.
Yeah, it took a while.
Rapidly crumbling away.
When's this game take place? Late 60s?
1964.
And there you go, an internal group of the Soviets wants to gain power to usurp him.
Yeah, the Soviets didn't dissolve till 1991.
Yep.
Wow, hence the Cold War.
Refer to oversimplified videos about it.
He has control over another secret weapons research facility much like this one, OKB 812.
Sounds like a J-pop group.
The Granin Design Bureau is using it
It's the Granin Design Bureau. Yeah.
to satisfy him. Now he's plotting to seize the secret weapon I have been developing here and use it as leverage in his.
Would it be a weapon to surpass? Oh wait, no, that doesn't exist yet.
Metal Gear doesn't exist yet, so no.
The intelligence says that they are going to make their move during the test.
Then the soldiers outside.
Exactly. They wouldn't need that many men just to keep me inside. Their orders were to prevent Colonel Volgin from capturing me.
Oops.
It feels like we may have been duped.
Killing me in the process, or so it would seem. Volgin
Well, since we knocked him out, maybe we should take him where he can be safer.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it to me.
By the way, your Russian is superb.
They're both talking in Russian too.
They're
It's
speaking
ju-
Russian right now.
it's just that we're hearing it in English so that we can, yeah.
We need to
It's one of-
understand.
I think would have been better if he used one introductory phrase and then like, oh, I understand the English, don't worry.
Having second
And
thoughts.
this phrase will still be maintained. Although
It's one of
movies
those
tend
things
to do
that media does where, when people of a foreign language are speaking English, just assume they're speaking in their own tongue.
Less Star
essentially.
Trek and its invisible translators that people carrying each other with each other.
All right, let's contact Major Zero. There you
This
go.
is Snake. Sokolov is safe with me. He's doing fine. No injuries.
Good work, Snake. Now hurry up and get Sokolov to the recovery point. We'll rendezvous with you there.
Roger.
Seems like a straightforward mission for once.
I managed to get past them.
I see.
What about the boss?
We lost contact with the boss some time ago.
That is true. I tried to contact her in the previous part, and yeah, she wasn't responding.
Like he said, it's probably just a weak signal. Though,
All
let's
right.
not assume the worst. And
All right, so
go with our heads held high.
So, Shiroi, now you're going to start seeing why this game is so very important in terms of lore and backstory for the series.
All
Well,
right.
aside from the fact that it's literally divulging
The origin of Big
information
Boss.
about the man himself.
What is this Tom and Jerry angle?
Yes. Don't you believe it?
Also, I understand the precautions, Nick, but you wanna hurry up? Like...
Is he trying to do a Kamehameha with those hands?
No idea.
I get the feeling. I get the feeling. Yeah, my guess is too. It was probably Dr. Strangelove thing where the actor was having fun and they were all laughing in the stage, and Kojima decided to just keep that in because it was funny.
There's a bit of a gag, but it's way later on, so I'll mention it when it's relevant.
Sure.
Freeze!
Oh, shit.
Well, crap.
What a great first day on the job, Snake.
Well, he is green in more ways than one.
So this is the legendary boss.
Oh my God,
Best characters enter the server.
And here he is.
Now, who do we know who's a big fan of westerns?
Yeah, who do we know?
And wheels with guns.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
The Ocelot unit of Speznat.
That's Shiroi. Who do we know swings around a revolver?
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
I wonder.
Okay, to be fair, this one isn't a revolver.
Well, yeah, I know, but he's doing that spinning thing.
And we mentioned anyway his code name anyway, so...
Well,
there you go.
That's his code name, the unit he's
There you go, Shiroi. A younger revolver Ocelot.
The Ocelot commander.
That's Major Ocelot.
Let's see, who's
He's
he
a
voiced by?
And he's voiced by Spectacular Spider-Man. Yes, Josh Keaton.
Yep.
He's also, you may notice already, but he's also a bit weird.
And back
Wait, you're telling me Ocelot is weird, and you're just now realizing this.
Again. Keep in mind, you'll notice he literally came...
Actually, no, it's doing something later. Go on, Java, sorry.
You'll notice he literally entered in wearing spurs like a goddamn cowboy.
Yeah.
Remember, he loves westerns.
Yep.
But yeah, if I recall correctly, Revolver Ocelot has no less than 3 different voice actors throughout the course of the series.
Yes, he does.
Culminating in, of course, our good old friend Troy Baker on his quest to voice everything.
Mm-hmm.
Show off.
Just as planned.
So at this point in time, he was a poser, right?
Yeah.
Oh, worse than that.
I'm not quite sure. He may have a lot of talk, but as usual, he has the chops to back it up.
Yeah, I was gonna say posers generally don't mean what they say.
I can't say it feels good to kill a comrade, even if it is for the GRU.
The GRU, eh?
Sokolov, take cover.
I wonder, did Despicable
Sounds a bit
Me
chilled
get
while
the
you're
idea
sitting
for
there,
GRU's
mate.
name from Metal Gear Solid?
Well, yeah, remember, Gru is supposed to be a villain, and Gru has always been somewhat controversial
Also,
in our show.
The name is a reference to the animal crane, because Gru has that.
Or that, yeah, sure. No, I'm not the boss, but I will be at some point, a big one.
Yeah. He loves to do that. Shiri, that's worse. He's a furry.
Don't you see?
Oh
He sounds.
my god!
No.
Don't you see? He sounds like an ocelot.
Yep.
Did they got Frank Welker to do that?
What is that stance?
Confuse Meowly
I
or
don't.
something?
I'm really wondering if they actually asked Josh. Josh, can you do this sound? And they showed him the Japanese actor, and Josh, I really have to wonder.
That's a lot of nonsense.
Then die.
Rude.
Oops.
Oh.
Out of bullets.
Out of
Actually,
bullets.
Alexander.
Please.
And there you go, Shiroi. This was the first time Ocelot fought a snake. He got completely humiliated.
What is the yelling?
Now keep in mind, remember, these two will become great friends later.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid is anything to go by.
Yeah, remember, Shiroi. According to Metal Gear Solid, Ocelot is a big ally and fan of Big Boss. So, but yeah, this is the first time they've met, so that's interesting.
That bit just then where he was firing his gun up in the air as he was stabbed. It was like that bit in
Yellow in the Dark movie.
Alone in the Dark, where
Yeah,
that guy,
where they shot the
guy
scientist like,
oh, and he's just gun up in the air.
You okay, dude?
No, he got shot by actual syringe.
Yeah, that's a no, Jover.
Right, you're still left.
Yeah, Ocelot is not the best with physical combat. He's better with
And
guns.
again, the entire reason why this happened because his gun got jammed. There was that bullet in that.
So, what should we do? Take him out now?
It can swallow the bullets.
You ejected the first bullet by hand, didn't you?
Yeah, Snake has some gun advice for him.
Yeah, this is actually one of the major differences between Big Boss and Solid, or if you prefer, he's not Big Boss yet, Naked Snake and Solid Snake. Naked Snake is a bit more...
Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I like it. It's basically him giving him advice about what kind of guns he'd be better with. That gets Ocelot to go, maybe I should use revolvers instead.
Basically, Shiroi, this is Ocelot meeting his senpai.
And believe it or not, it was Big Boss who advised him to use the revolver because he's clearly using revolver techniques. Remember, Ocelot's a big fan of westerns.
Yes.
So he's a Westaboo who wanted to really try
Being
that cool
young
gun
also, it was actually very common for the Russian youth at the Soviet Union at the time to actually, be more
he just said it! He said it, guys! He said it!
You're pretty good.
That's his catchphrase, Shiroi. He points both his fingers at you.
I'm never gonna say that again.
You're pretty good. Memorize that, because I'm never gonna say this line ever again.
But don't worry, he's not dead. So.
Senpai beat the shit out of me.
Alright. Yeah, basically, that's one of the primary differences. Unlike Solid Snake, who prefers to see his enemies as nothing but obstacles because he doesn't want to get personally involved, Naked Snake is a bit more like he actually does see his enemies as proper person and tries to be somewhat more empathetic.
Which is kind of funny when you consider how ruthless Big Boss later goes on to be.
Well, that's just a consequence of the life he's taken. That's everything that's happened since this game.
I will say this though, one thing I do like about Metal Gear Solid 5 and Peace Walker is that they showed that even despite becoming more ruthless, deep down he's still that wholesome, fun-loving guy who believes in Santa Claus.
Yep. Okay, Shiroi. Now you're in for a treat. Let's get.
Oh boy.
Remember, you know all that meta stuff in the Metal Gear series that you absolutely love?
I see you've captured a giant.
Well, we're about to see another one of those. You know, Shiroi, I'm thinking.
Not immediately.
I'm not immediately, but you'll see. Yeah. For now, I'm trying to get my best to make Paramedic look at the food that I've gotten. Basically, we're going to have Paramedic talk to us about that rat.
Then we'll eat it.
Teo, it's survival.
Circle of life, Teo.
Survival of the fittest, Teo. Survival of the fittest. Alright, now that that's done. Okay, basically every time I get a new animal, we can get Paramedic to get straight. There you go, reticulated python. We already heard her say this, so let's skip this one. Let's skip this one, because we already heard this one.
By the way, Snake.
What?
What was that little lecture back there?
Lecture?
You were instructing the GRU commander, weren't you? Something about the first round or his hand?
Yeah.
What was that supposed to mean?
Look, his technique was
whenever he put a new clip in his gun, he'd always load the first round by hand, whether there was a round left in the chamber or not. It's a technique they teach in the Middle East. By making sure there's always a round in the chamber, you eliminate the risk of pulling the trigger with nothing to fire. He must have heard about it from someone or read it somewhere. In any case, he probably wanted to try it out for himself. And he was obviously motivated by vanity to show off his new technique. That's when you make mistakes.
Aren't you a psychoanalyst?
Is an unforgiving place. The only
it's worth it. Again, the thing that this game emphasizes more than anything is that Naked Snake knows everything about the battlefield that he needs.
He had a great teacher.
He had a great teacher, yep.
He was bending his elbow sharply to avoid the recoil. It looked like he wasn't aware he was doing it, but that habit can be either a fatal flaw or a gift.
What do you mean?
Automatic weapons use recoil to operate, So if you don't let the recoil hit you, it interferes with the operating cycle of the gun. Basically, he shouldn't be trying to avoid the impact like that. But with a revolver, there's no need to let the recoil hit you. Just the opposite. Avoiding the recoil lets you reduce the strain on your hand and arm.
That's one reason why revolvers are cool.
With a high-caliber revolver.
Handy? Are you listening to yourself?
What do you mean?
He's the enemy. Why are you giving him advice?
Snake has no answer for that.
I don't know. For some reason, I couldn't help but point
Yeah, almost like he knew they would be allies.
Yeah.
Look,
Oh,
well, excuse me for trying to be nice. But anyway, okay, Shiroi, I just thought of something.
Next time I won't bother.
I just thought of something, Shiroi. Remember, Ocelot is the big causer of all the major problems Solid Snake goes through in MGS1 and MGS2. So if we kill him right here, Solid Snake won't have no problem. So we can end the franchise right here.
Everyone has seen this. I know that.
Good old naked Snake looking out for his son.
No, everyone has seen this.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to show how you the physics changes a bit. Yes, we got a mouse trap so we can capture mice.
Defeat the snakes, then we can eat the snakes and the mice.
Yes. All right, let's stab him and kill him. All right.
Cool.
I'm amazed he didn't die after those first few stabs.
Why not just shoot him?
There you go.
Oh.
Ocelot is dead.
Wait, listen.
You've created a time paradox. The snake, you can't go changing the future.
Colonel, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be in this game.
What are you even talking about?
Colonel, you're not supposed to be in this game. Like, at this point in the timeline, you're still a young man.
Yes. Snake is just like, who the hell are you?
That's
Paul hiding again.
Yes, and yes, Shiroi, they bothered to get Paul hiding back just to voice this.
Wait, what's this?
And yeah, if you allow the game over screen for a while, eventually the letters will turn into time paradox. Because remember, if either Ocelot or Big Boss die here, it kind of creates a time paradox because they're not supposed to die in this game still. So yeah, and even inverts the colors and everything.
Stop acknowledging the future. That's gonna make it worse.
That being said,
Roy, given how crapsack the future gets in Metal Gear Solid 4, maybe things would have been better off changed.
But yeah, what reminds me that again, essentially Ocelot's obsession with Western stuff was actually a reality of back then, because after that I was studying, one thing that Khrushchev did was actually opening up a bit, not much, but a bit, to Western culture. So the Soviet youth actually was particularly interested in discovering stuff like the Beatles.
Why not just shoot him?
Because I like using
projectiles.
I like using a knife.
It's funny you mentioned the Beatles in Russia, Tio, because, John Lennon.
Yeah.
There you go. Basically, sure, you can kill everybody here, but you can't kill Ocelot because the game will automatically give you a game over.
Aw, look at him, though. He's so cute as you stab him and he somehow doesn't die until now. Ocelot is dead.
Again.
Snake, you can't do that.
I won't let you do it, Snake.
You've already done this twice.
Ocelot is dead.
It's funny because
like Mario. Mamma mia.
It's funny because Big Boss actually does meet the Colonel in
there you go, giant anaconda. Yeah, I already went through this, so now I think it's the rat that I'm gonna do now in a moment, actually.
Eo's favorite.
Yeah, I thought you were going to talk about.
Yeah, basically, it's this. I was trying to get her to talk about the rat, but I guess I need to eat all the snakes before she'll talk about the rat.
Really?
I thought it was going to be like, Snake, what's wrong? I had a weird vision just now that I killed.
All right. I actually really love this particular interaction. Check this out.
I see you caught yourself a rat. The rats in that area are the descendants of wild Norway rats that were domesticated by humans as pets and lab animals. They're not poisonous, and I don't think they'll attack you, but they're quick little creatures, so you might have a hard time catching one.
So how do they taste?
Snake?
Well, I gotta know what catching
Hold on,
is worth.
hold on.
I know what they are. Do they taste okay?
The guide says they're not that
The
bad.
guide actually does have a note for that.
Look,
Written by Shrek.
Look, paramedic, I need to feed on whatever is available to me, okay? Come on.
Maybe she's a rat fan like Teo.
Alright,
Also, it's like quails when it comes to
let's save the
birds.
game.
They're not really that much of a source of sustenance. There's not
Have
much.
you heard of it came from outer space?
Yes.
Yeah, you told me already.
So this astronomer sees a meteor, but it's really an alien spaceship, right? And the aliens start replacing the townspeople with clones and forcing them to help repair the ship. The 3D effects were quite realistic.
All the
I've got
time.
all the real I can handle here in the jungle.
No, you don't get it. Precisely because it's realistic, with the images jumping out of the screen at you. It makes for a nice escape from reality. I
Oh
have to
boy,
admit,
in the
it made my
future, you're
eyes
gonna
red.
love
It's
Spy
really
Kids
intense.
3D then, honey.
Unfortunately, they don't make very many of those movies anymore.
Such a silly movie.
I was still in college.
Yeah, but
so
that's why we
probably
love
about
it.
10 years ago?
Guess
I'm not
I'm
sure love is the right
You
word.
know, they're coming
You
out
prefer
with
the
several
second one.
versions of video cassette recorders.
If only they existed.
Wait. One day you'll be able to see old movies in your own home? That's just preposterous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're talking nonsense.
What is
Only-
this new technology?
If only those recorders existed during the old Doctor
No,
Who
really.
days.
And someday they might
If
make movies where
only.
you control the
Hold on.
characters
And
yourself.
someday they might make movies where you can control the characters themselves. Huh, sounds like magic. Reminder that Kojima was originally going to become a filmmaker, but the reason he became a game designer is because he played Super Mario Brothers and he thought, holy shit, I can actually control the characters in these unlike with movies. Fuck it, I'm making
Love with the older AT&T six.
fuck it, I'm making games instead. I honestly, Teo, I kind of resent that because Kojima actually puts gameplay in his games.
Well, I was talking about the character in Universe Paramedic. She specifically mentioned about movies, so...
Oh, that. Yeah, whatever. Moving on.
Yeah.
See ya.
Alright, then see you for the next part.
Yeah.
Yeah.